Hi friends, welcome to the channel. Hit the like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment with an emoji just for the sake of engagement.
Chapter 1. A girl offered wine to their partner, wanting to drink together as adults at least once. Her partner remembered that in a few months they would be adults, and the girl told him that since they were adults now, they should do the things married couples do, asking him if she was right. Julia was the queen of Semele. Endymion Semele was the king of Semele. He asked Julia what she meant. When Julia was about 5 years old, a severe famine suddenly struck the entire continent, and as the agricultural foundation of every nation began to fail, all the countries became mercilessly shaken except for her country. Ametrine was originally a small, insignificant country, ignored by others, but after the drought, their situation changed. While the grains in other countries withered, Ametrine's crops grew larger, and while fruits in other countries wilted, their fruits grew sweeter. Many countries seeking the cause of the strange phenomena received the oracle of Dionysus that the only daughter of the kingdom of Ametrine was loved by the gods. After that, proposals for her marriage poured in. Her father was angry when everyone approached him with her daughter's marriage proposal because she was only 5 years old. The nobles argued that the age of his daughter didn't matter, and if he sent his princess to their country, their king would generously offer gold and treasures. Some even offered territory 10 times the size of Ametrine, while others offered workers, treasures, and much more, only requesting her father to send her to their country. Her father, who had raised her without a mother, couldn't bear to send his precious daughter as a pawn for a political marriage and stubbornly resisted, but as the pressure from the great powers grew, he was soon cornered. Eventually, the princess, who was once the pride of the whole nation, became the headache of the country, so she decided to make a choice for her country and ask her dad to let her marry because that would have been the best outcome for everybody. Her father, dejected, begged for her forgiveness, but she knew that her father did not wield any great powers. He put only one condition on the marriage and announced that he would accept the proposals from all nations and would agree to his daughter's marriage. However, the marriage partner would be chosen by Julia herself. Hoping that there would be no objections. With no other choice, the nobles agreed, and thanks to her father's condition, she could choose her marriage partner. She was looking through the list of prospects when she chose Prince Endymion, and thus he became the chosen marriage partner of the gods' favored one because he was about her age. They met like that, and although it wasn't a marriage either of them wanted, they quickly became close because of their age. She enjoyed spending her days with Mayan, so leaving her hometown didn't feel as sad as she thought it would. They slept in the same bed every night and were never apart for a moment all through their childhood and adolescence. They were like siblings who had seen everything, both good and bad. Just like normal friends, they used to bicker and quarrel, but all of that changed a few years ago when her stomach was hurting. Mayan was worried, asking Julia if she had drunk the herbal remedy, and told her that she would be feeling better soon. He promised to be by her side, and she thanked him. But soon they discovered blood on their bed, and Mayan left the room, leaving Julia. She asked where he was going and thought she must have looked strange. After the day everything changed, unlike their childish years. Soon a bunch of maids entered her room, telling her she must have been very surprised. Julia realized that Mayan went to call the maids, and they had maintained politeness ever since while also trusting, respecting, and caring for each other. That is how 12 years of their lives were spent as inseparable friends. But today, as he was drinking the wine, a nervous Julia realized that he might not have understood her point. She held his hands tenderly and told him to listen to what she was saying carefully. When she got his attention, she told him that they were not kids anymore, and once they completed the coming-of-age ceremony, they would not only be legally married but also a real husband and wife. She told him that he would be the king and she the queen, and they would have sacred duties to fulfill as a royal couple. Mayan was curious hearing her. But Julia suddenly asked him if he liked innocent or if he liked someone sexy. Mayan, not understanding what she was trying to say, asked her what she meant. She finally told him that her mother told her that they need to have an heir, telling him that she would be choosing a beautiful young lady for him. Mayan questioned her about what she meant. She stated that since it was awkward between them, she was thinking of getting him a concubine, asking him for his preferences she would make sure to accommodate him, leaving him shocked. Chapter 2 She told him that she would generously reflect his preferences and choose the concubine best suited for him, asking him if he wanted someone with a seductive charm or if he would prefer someone completely innocent. Mayan finally spoke, questioning Julia if she was stupid. leaving her confused. He told her that he doesn't need a concubine and left. Julia was confused, not knowing why Mayan got angry all of a sudden. As she lay on her bed, she thought Mayan didn't understand what she was feeling when she brought up the topic of concubines. She wouldn't want him to have a concubine either if it weren't for what happened yesterday. A day ago in the Imperial Palace's greenhouse, when she went there to meet her mother, the Queen, she greeted her and asked her to sit down. Julia smiled and told the Queen that she felt like it had been a long time since they last met and told her that she hadn't been able to visit because she was busy preparing for the coming-of-age ceremony and apologized to her. The Queen told her to not worry and told her that her husband won't even show up no matter how much she calls for him because he has no cuteness to him. She asked Julia if she was still not pregnant, making Julia choke on her tea. Hoping she had heard something wrong, she questioned the Queen about what she meant. The Queen replied that it had already been 2 years since they both became socially recognized adults and thought it was about time she heard some good news. Julia did not know what to answer since she had not even had any signs of that, let alone being pregnant. As she was about to answer, the Queen interrupted her, telling her that she still remembers how the desolate wasteland transformed into fields as if it were alive. It was a tremendous honor to be the beloved of the gods, bringing life to wherever she walked and raining down on the dry land, but since the drought was now over and Semele was peaceful, her being there would not guarantee her future. The king of Ametrine, her father, after marrying her off, adopted an heir to fill the non-vacant successor's position. In such a situation, if Mayan were to die without an heir, the position she held, with no place to return to for protection, would become a great prize for the nobles seeking power, and since the queen was still the concubine who bore Mayan, conservatives were questioning the legitimacy of Mayan's bloodline. Which is why the queen suggested that if an heir were to be born at this time, both of their positions would be family established. Julia couldn't believe that the nobles were saying such words about Mayan. She has only been learning about the coming-of-age ceremony preparations and her duties as a queen all this time and hasn't had time to think about anything else. Seeing her worried face, the queen also suggested that if she didn't feel like giving birth herself, she could think of another option, which was a concubine. Her mother wondered if there was a noble lady who desired to live contently and peacefully in her given position rather than coveting power like she did. The truth was the queen, Mayan's mother, was closer to the late queen than she was to His Majesty, telling Julia that she was a truly lovely and kind person. After the late queen passed away, it was only natural for her, having given birth to the sole heir, to become the next queen. She smiled and stated that she never coveted the position even once while the late queen was alive, so she was hoping that there must be someone like her, and Julia should be able to find her, asking her to think carefully about it. Julia, placing her cup down, hugged the queen and left. Hearing the sudden talk about concubines makes her think a lot about having a child. Mayan and Julia would have to do things that she was not comfortable with. She has grown up with Mayan for so long that he feels more like a childhood friend than a husband, and there was no way she could create that kind of atmosphere with him now. But most importantly, he already had someone he liked. He told her that he had someone he liked personally. He had also mentioned before that there were marriage talks with another noble lady, so she was wondering if that was the same person he liked. And she thought that if it weren't for her, he would have probably married that person he even wanted. She wondered why Mayan didn't say anything to her and thought that maybe it was because he didn't want to have a child with her, who was just a princess of a minor kingdom. She believed that rather than her being from a minor kingdom that wouldn't be able to support Mayan, it was better for him to have a concubine with a good background to bear an heir. As she was heading towards her room, she saw another girl who, upon seeing her, greeted her. It was Iris, the Duchess. Iris was Mayan's half-sister, but she always seemed oddly cold towards her, which made her feel uncomfortable, so she decided to leave the place quickly and told Iris that she would be taking her leave. But before she left, Iris told her that she had just met with the Grand Duchess and that she had heard about the discussions on bearing an heir. She told Julia that she had something she would like to request from the queen and requested Julia to select Lady Kiara as a concubine, which shocked her. Chapter 3. When Iris suggested Julia pick Lady Kiara as a concubine, she told her that Lady Kiara was her only true friend and the daughter of the second most powerful family after the royal family. Duke Sor, who is from the Trine royal family, had a similar national power to Semele, and if they form a connection with the Sor family, it will also be beneficial for the international situation. Furthermore, she told Julia that Kiera has been in love with Mayan since she was a child, even suffering from lovesickness, which is why the late king, who took pity on her, allowed for the proposal to be made, but everything was ruined when Julia chose Mayan. Julia finally understood why Iris and she never got along since they were children. Even though they were family and she tried to get closer, Iris always ignored her. She realized that originally Mayan and Kiera were supposed to marry, and they would have become close friends and family, but she chose Mayan, which is why their marriage fell apart. She told Iris that although she made the choice, it was the king who had first proposed their marriage, asking her why she was bringing it up now. Iris replied that she had heard the two of them were so close that they had been sharing a bed for quite some time. But since there was still no news of an heir, it might mean that one of them has a health issue. She said that it would be better for her to bring in a concubine and quickly confirm the matter. Julia questioned Iris if she was suggesting that she might be infertile. She angrily replied that what she was suggesting was rude and told her that if she had been taught basic manners as someone from a noble family, she would have known not to speak so carelessly to someone who was above her. Julia told Iris that she might have misunderstood and firmly told her that she was the queen of Simile, and Iris was just a duchess requesting her not to cross the line on royal hierarchy. Iris quickly apologized but told her that her friend still couldn't forget his majesty. She told her that her friend's father forced her into marriage when he couldn't tolerate it anymore, and Lady Kiera even made an extreme choice. She told Julia that if she accepted her as a concubine, she would be content with her position and live quietly, and she hoped she would show mercy for the sake of family in the future. Back to the present, while sitting on her bed, Julia was thinking that she couldn't say a word and ended up parting ways because of how Iris acted. She had thought of Iris as an arrogant person but didn't expect her to bow her head for a friend, and after investigating Iris's claims, she found that everything she said about Princess Kiera was true. She really was unwell, and Julia even confirmed that Princess Kiera attempted extreme measures. The conservative raising complaints about the heir was also true, so in the end, she realized that there must be an heir, and if she wanted to avoid it herself, she would have to bring in a concubine. And as Princess Iris said, Princess Kiera would be a suitable choice for the concubine, as she was the person Mayan personally liked. She was thinking that she should just bring the princess in as a concubine, but thinking about Mayan, she didn't want to do that because she didn't want to lose her only friend, and it would have been better if Mayan himself revealed who he liked. Thinking about everything made her chest feel heavy. Julia was nervous because yesterday Mayan left without even looking back and was mad ever since. Duke Lionel, Iris's husband, came to Mayan and informed him the courtiers had suggested holding a royal hunting tournament for the coming-of-age ceremony, but Mayan dismissed it, which made him sad because he wanted to get off work early and have dinner with his wife and son, but now he would have to work overtime. Back in the room, Mayan was pacing back and forth, still thinking as to why Julia even came to think that he would want a concubine, calling it ridiculous. He opened a secret door and entered the room, which was filled with pictures of Julia. Every portrait of Julia painted by the merchant looked too beautiful, and he collected so many and couldn't figure out which one was cuter. He wondered what Julia would say if she ever found out that he had been secretly collecting her portraits and even created a hiding room for them. So he decided to keep it well hidden for now because, in his mind, in his eyes, Julia looked like a fairy and a kind queen. Even after being stranded in a strange place alone, she never lost her smile. Her kindness and her warmth captivated him from the moment he laid his eyes on her. She was gentle and kind to everyone, and people around her loved her for that, but at some point Mayan wanted to monopolize her affection. As a child, just spending time with Julia was enough, but now, day by day, his desire grew stronger. He was afraid that she might find him unfamiliar, so he had to hide his feelings because he wanted Julia to be happy more than anyone else and hoped that he could be the one to make that happen. Now that they were adults, he wanted to make Julia happy just as he had wanted to before, but suddenly spoke about choosing a concubine for him. He realized that Julia must have heard about the conservatives speaking about the heir and thought that he should have just killed them. Mayan knew that Julia might be gentle, but she was stubborn, and if he just stood by and watched, she might secretly choose a concubine without him knowing, which he couldn't let happen. He knew he couldn't continue, so he decided to move his plans forward. Realizing that the Duke was talking about holding a royal hunting tournament, he thought that this was a perfect excuse and the perfect time to try and seduce his wife. Chapter 4. The day before the royal hunting tournament, Count Tremble came to meet Julia. The Count looked like he was in love as he held Julia's hands and told her that it was a personal honor to meet her, but just as he was about to kiss her hands, Mayan pulled Julia off and asked the count who gave him permission to kiss his queen. Tremble, while trembling, greeted Mayan, and Julia was startled. Mayan firmly told the count that he was being overly formal and told him that he could have shown respect by placing a kiss on her forehead. The count apologized for his carelessness, but Julia wondered why Mayan was acting like this. She thought she should let the count know that his actions were all right. She smiled and told the count that she wasn't offended and requested him to take good care of the security. The count and all the maids present there were smitten by her elegance, but Mayan was bothered. He took Julia in his arms and told her that today he would be staying at the hunting grounds and would be returning at dawn, asking her to make the necessary preparations. Julia replied weakly that she understood, and as she was surprised with his behavior, he placed Julia down. The count asked him if he was sure that it was all right to not bring any attendants with him. He replied that it was fine, as he had left the necessary magical tools at the lodge. He knelt before Julia and told her that before the coming-of-age ceremony, he would like to spend some quiet time with his queen, leaving Julia flustered as it was somehow embarrassing for her. While they were heading to the hunting tournament, Julia curiously asked Mayan what had gotten into him all of a sudden as he was making her blush, but Mayan comically replied that he saw no problem calling his queen as such. Julia told him that she was feeling awkward because he had never called her that way before asking him to be honest with her about his plans. Mayan replied that he thought it was time for a change in their relationship. Julia was wondering what change he was talking about because after that last talk about a concubine, he didn't say a single word, and out of nowhere, he was suggesting they go hunting. Realizing that he was acting too suspicious, Mayan reminded her that they would be together until dawn tomorrow, and he had deliberately sent away the attendants so that it would be just the two of them, asking her if she knew what that meant. Julia, while removing her bow tie suspiciously, replied that she knew exactly what it meant, which surprised Mayan. As she began undressing, Mayan's heart was beating faster, making him flustered, and as he was about to ask her to wait, she revealed the hunting clothes she had been wearing underneath the royal outfit, asking Mayan if he meant that they were going to hunt together just like old times. The count, who was traveling with them, saw Julia undressing from the outside since the curtains were not closed. Mayan quickly pulled the curtains, and with a sad look, realized that even this advancement was not enough to make her heart flutter and realized that he still had a long way to go. A lizard chased a little baby rabbit in the forest, and just as it was about to attack the little rabbit, it was shot down dead with arrows from Julia's bow. Mayan praised her skill, telling her that she had hit the vital spot perfectly. Julia was worried that her skills might have gotten rusty since it had been a while, and Mayan calmed her by telling her not to say such disappointing things because she was his apprentice. Being in the forest like this reminded her of her home. Julia's homeland was an agricultural country located on the frontier, closely connected to nature. For Julia, who had grown up surrounded by nature since her childhood, Semele felt stifling. To maintain the dignity of the crown princess, she wasn't even allowed to run outside or play freely, and with not even a single meadow near the royal palace, Semele couldn't cure Julia's longing for her home. Unable to watch Julia being sad, Mayan secretly took her to the training grounds where she could run around and have fun. At first, she only watched him train, but at some point, they began training together, and among all the skills, Julia showed a natural talent for archery. She became proficient enough to rival seasoned hunters. Mayan was always amazed at how she handled things above and beyond, even without formal training. She learned secretly from the palace staff. Thanks to that, they have been able to go on hunts like this from time to time. As he was thinking, Julia stated that it had been a long time since the last hunt, and she felt excited. Mayan suggests that since becoming an adult, it has been hard to find time for things like that, suggesting they should have a proper hunt together for the first time in a while, and Julia liked his idea. Mayan ran off to a different location while telling her that whoever catches the most monsters gets to make a wish later. That night as Julia finished bathing, she felt refreshed, and seeing that Mayan had not yet returned, she thought that he might be in a good mood too. She decided to bring up the topic of the concubine once again and talk it through properly. She then saw the magic tool placed on the table and admired its power because it was the only thing that was warming the whole place, even without a fireplace. She was fascinated by the magical tools because even the royal family had to place special orders and match schedules to acquire them. Luckily, the family has a treaty with the magic tower, making it easier to obtain magical tools, but when she opened the trunk, she realized that there weren't any indoor dresses, and even the nightgown was missing. She believed that earlier, when she had told her maid that she had hunting clothes on underneath and didn't need a dress to wear over them, the maid mistook it to mean that she didn't even need a nightgown, wondering what she should do. She was nervous because she wore a dress with a crinoline attached today, which would make it difficult to sleep in, but as she was going through her clothes, she heard Mayan's voice in the distance. He was talking to the guards, discussing today's hunt. They had dealt with all the dangerous beasts and monsters that were nearby and had put up a temporary fence as well, asking him how many guards should be stationed in front of the lodge. Mayan replied that we should assign the minimum number of personnel to the front of the lodge and position them outside the fence. Julia quickly looked through her clothes, trying to find something to wear, because no matter how much of a childhood friend he was, she still couldn't let him see her like this, but before she could gather anything, Mayan entered the room wanting to have Julia for dinner. Just kidding. When he didn't find anybody, he thought that Julia must have gone out to get food, but then he heard rustling coming from a direction, and upon looking, his eyes widened. He saw Julia standing behind the curtains trying to cover herself, and she was also wearing one of his clothes. Chapter 5. Mayan was startled and didn't know how to react. His sapphire eyes widened seeing Julia like that. Julia begged him not to misunderstand, trying to cover her body, and Mayan was fully blushing. He apologized because he entered without realizing that Julia was washing up, and while in the West Ending room, they heard the soldiers speaking from the outside, wanting to report about the personal assignment to the king. Mayan quickly pulled Julia towards him, trying to hide her from the people standing outside. Julia felt weird wearing such a thin shirt. Mayan questioned Julia about why she was only wearing his shirt and looked tense watching her clustered face look. Julia replied that she was taking her clothes off when she heard him coming. For some reason, she couldn't look at his face. When Mayan asked her about her pajamas, she replied that she felt like the maids made a mistake. Mayan, seeing his luck turn in his favor, was finally happy. He told Julia that the soldiers were posted outside the lodging so they won't be nearby in the early morning and told her to wear his pajamas and sleep today. He left before telling her that he was going to wash up so she could definitely and told her to not go out looking like that. Her heart was racing very fast, and she thought it was because she was startled by the knight's voice earlier. She realized that Mayan had grown so much. In the past, she was similar to him in height, and before she knew it, Mayan had already outgrown her. She quickly dismissed her thoughts, calling them impure. After Mayan finished washing up, he came into the room wearing nothing but his pants and asked Julia if she had a gown. Julia replied that she hadn't seen it. As soon as she saw Mayan's chiseled body, her face became flustered, and she questioned him why he didn't dress before coming out. Mayan replied that it was because she was the one who was wearing his shirt, realizing that she was behaving awkwardly and thought that Mayan might find her behavior strange, so she decided to stop looking at her tense reactions. Mayan felt like Julia was conscious of him and thought maybe this was the opportunity he was looking for. As he was about to approach Julia and try to seduce her, Julia started talking about the concubine, which shocked him. She told him that the noble ladies would also attend the hunting tournament tomorrow, those with a good reputation in society or above the count level, telling him that there would probably be a lady he liked. She requested him to at least see their faces first. She thought she needed to find a good noble lady for Mayan, but she didn't understand why she was feeling so confused and thought that it might be because of the clothes. Mayan was shocked and angry, questioning her if she really had invited all the noble ladies to the hunting tournament, asking her if it was all because she wanted to choose his concubine. Julia was nervous seeing Mayan's reaction. Mayan pushed Julia on the bed and pinned her down and said with frustration in his voice that if she really did not understand, she was just pretending not to. Julia tried to reason with Mayan by telling him that the heir was something he definitely needed, but Mayan stopped her and told her to stop thinking about other people and to tell him what she was thinking. While being on top of Julia, he told her that he doesn't want to have a concubine and told her that as long as it was not about appointing a concubine, he would grant every request of hers. While caressing her cheek, he told her that if she wanted him beneath her, he would also accept it, and even if she wanted Semele, he could easily give it to her. Gently touching her ears, he asked if she really didn't understand what he was saying, but as he was about to say his wish, Julia, out of nervousness, told him that she wanted a brand new hunting outfit, leaving him questioning his existence. Later that night as they were sleeping, Julia thought to herself that she answered strangely because she was nervous and questioned Mayan if he even realized how his words sounded. She thought that she might be jumping to conclusions. She also realized that it was she who brought up the house hunting outfit topic to change the subject, but Mayan definitely said that there was someone he liked. Thinking of asking him again, she was nervous thinking of the answer. Mayan, on the other hand, was looking at Julia, unable to sleep because he could hear the sound of her thinking all the way from where he was. He started playing with her hair and began thinking if he was too hasty. It wasn't like he didn't think about confessing to Julia. Just after his coronation was over, when he was 16 years old, he wanted to tell Julia that he loved her and that she had always been his number one. He thought that if Julia felt the same way he did, he would ask her to be together not only as friends but also as lovers, but as he was approaching Julia, he heard her talking with her friends over tea, telling them that she saw Mayan as a friend and not as a man. Mayan realized that if he confessed his feelings to her, it would only burden her. He felt a bit troubled, but it was okay since he had no intention of giving up on her. He thought of waiting until the coming-of-age ceremony and believed she would understand his feelings, but he was still mad thinking that the person he loves invited all the young ladies to see the candidate for the concubine. He understood that he could no longer postpone his plans before Julia misunderstood any further and decided to convey his feelings at the hunting festival.
That's all for today. See you in the next episode, friends. Until then, keep reading manga.